So I want to welcome everyone to Virginia Research Lodge's weekly Zoom meeting. We have a few minutes to chat, wait for a few more people to come in. Our speaker today is Worshipful Rob Lund from Ontario, Canada, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I remember it. It's all just Canada to me. It's just, one big blob.
Yeah.
I just lump you all together. America's hat, yes. Very glad, and I'm looking forward to your talk. It's very interesting, and there was a lot of interest. I'm surprised we don't have more people. We only have about 20, 25 people showing up for these, and quite a few people showed their interest and said they were coming, and we're only up to 11. So I'm gonna allow a few more minutes before we get into it. It's not quite 10 o'clock. And I gave everybody a chance to say hello, I think. Brother Gore, did you ever want to? Oh, we did talk. That's right. He's driving. We don't want him talking. That's right. I remember.
How often do you have these meetings?
Well, we are trying to have them every Saturday at 10. Our research lodge meets 4 times a year, and that's when we've had 2 meetings, one in December, one in August. They were on the day of our official meeting because we couldn't meet otherwise. And then I decided I'm going to try and have one at the same time just every week. If I can just get people to attend and just make them informal like this. Hey, there is our senior deacon. Brother Bill, good to see you. Need to unmute. Need to figure out how to unmute.
That work.
Hey, good to see you, Brother Bill.
Morning.
As I was saying, since our stated's normally at this time, I was going to try and just have one every Saturday and just make them informal like we're doing and see if I can generate a regular crowd to come every week. And it'll be fun. If it's consistent, this is the only day that seems to work for me where I'm always free. I see a lot of things that Brian posts that I'd love to jump in and attend, and then I always seem to miss them. And then it's like 9:30 and they're starting at 9. I'm like, oh crap, I want to go to that. So at least if I'm going to host, I need to pick a time when I know I'll always be available. So this is the time I've carved out for me. But we plan to have them every week, Brother Rob. We plan to try to have them every Saturday if we can, depending on how many speakers I can line up. How you been, Brother Bill?
And well, thank you, Chris. Hope you are too.
I'm doing good.
Chris, where's your lodge situated?
My lodge is actually Ocean View in Norfolk, Virginia, and this is hosted by Virginia Research Lodge, who meets in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
So the research lodges only meet, of course, 4 times a year. But because we're meeting virtual, we're meeting all the time now, and I don't have to drive to Richmond, so it's actually a little bit easier on me.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a research lodge here in the Norfolk area, but they started one and it didn't take off. So Brother Mark. Good to see you, Brother Irwin. You want to say hello? Tell us where you're from. There's another guy. Maybe
How you doing? I'm from Oshawa, Canada, Ontario,
Excellent.
Canada.
Excellent.
Temple Lodge.
We seem to pick up quite a few Canadians, I guess. Letting Cameron talk, it seems to bring in the Brits and the Canadians. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Good to have you here.
Mark, which lodge are you from?
Temple Lodge, 649 Oshawa.
Okay. That's Toronto East District, right?
Yeah, correct.
Hello, Brother Julian. And where do you hail from? Brian, let me ask you, is there, I'm just winging this, of course, but is there a protocol for when generally you get into the speaker when you're holding your Zoom meetings, or? You're muted.
Muted. That's
Yeah.
the first thing. Unmute.
Yes.
There isn't as such, I don't think. It's just what sort of works best for you. I
Right.
normally ask people when they come in to be unmuted and with a camera on, so at least you can see them from the very beginning.
Yes.
If they want to switch your camera off afterwards, that's entirely up to them.
Okay.
Obviously, saying hello to everyone when they come in is also a good move.
Yep.
Again, you can't if there's a lot of people.
Well, that's the fun thing. We're kind of like at a point where I can, it's small enough that I can greet everybody and make them feel welcome. But if we get really busy, I can't do that. Obviously, I think people understand that. They come in a room, there's 30 people. I'm not going to stop and welcome every new person.
You do have a gentleman from India just joining us.
I do. I was going to say hello to him. Brother Rinesh, would you like to say hello?
Hi. Hello. 1 second. I'm actually in another meeting as well. So let me just switch on my video and show everyone hi.
Hi. Good to see you, brother.
There's another meeting which is going on. I'm the admin there. So like it's connected.
Oh, my.
Multitasking.
You're going to try to multitask. That's what. Well, I'm glad you found us a higher priority. That's always good.
Thank you very much.
Long time no see.
Yes, Joe. Hi.
Brother Gore has rolled his car and he's now wandering in the woods. So this is not a good thing. I hope you're okay, Brother Gore. You were driving a minute ago.
Yes, I'm doing fine now.
Okay, good. Good to have you. Brother Knox, would you like to unmute and turn on your video for a minute so we can see you and say hello? Okay. Casey, would you like to say hello? Okay, then. And Julian tried to say hello earlier, but didn't succeed. Would you like to say hello, Julian?
Hello. Sorry about that. I was trying to untangle my headphones and my cat was attacking me.
I understand.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here and see the presentation today. Thank you.
Excellent. And where are you from?
From Maryland, from Hydesville.
Okay.
Belong to Mount Herman Lodge in Hydesville, Maryland.
Where's Hydesville?
It's just outside of DC, in PG County.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, up Route 1 out of DC.
Right. Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
I was in Elk Ridge for a time in Severn. I attended a couple of weeks that way. So I know the area. Good
Great
to have you with us. Well,
Thank
I'm down here in Virginia Beach, so I'm not too far from you there.
Okay, great.
Welcome. As I was saying, Brian, since you're my co-host, I'll just keep addressing questions to you here. I don't know what the protocol is. I'm still kind of feeling it out as I go. I want to give everybody a chance to get settled. I really don't want to have the speaker talking and people are popping in and, speaking up and saying, hey, I'm here, whatever. So, but at least allow a few minutes of people to come in and we can greet them all, make you all feel welcome. That's my whole goal, is make everybody feel welcome here. But then, but I don't want to have half an hour of that either, because I'm sure after a while, I'll be like, okay, get on with it. So try to find that sweet spot of be welcoming and then get to the program. Of course, we're not, as you all know, this is not a stated meeting of any kind. I'm not taking minutes. I have no bills to vote on, which is good. I don't have any real business to take care of other than just sort of, letting everybody get a chance to speak, say hello, share anything they want to share, which is good. I like this. If most lodge meetings were like this, it'd be more fun. But other than having a actual speaker planned, I don't have a lot of business. I just kind of want to keep it free flowing. So we'll learn as we go. So I'm still going to say hi to people for a few minutes before we start with the speaker. Brother Peterson, would that be Bill Peterson? If you want to unmute and say hello.
How you doing, sir? No, sir.
Hey, nope.
This is Brother Peterson, most worshipful Prince Hall, Grand Lodge, Maryland. $9.25.
Excellent. Nice to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
All
Nice
right.
to be here.
We have a Bill Peterson from our Virginia Research chapter, who's the high priest this year. I thought that might have been him. That's why I said that. And we have a most excellent high priest, Dre, if you want to unmute and say hello. There you are.
Good morning, everybody. Just got off of a prior Zoom call and left the wrong name there. So I just
Okay.
wanted to change it. I am Past Master Dre Clark. I'm out of Zion Lodge number 4, the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Maryland. It's certainly a pleasure to be here this morning.
Another
Good morning,
Maryland
everyone.
brother. You have quite a crowd behind you there. So is that
Yes, sir.
would that be the camel walk we're seeing?
That's precisely what you see. That's that's Jerusalem Temple number 4 of the ancient Egyptian Arab Order Nobles of the Mystic Shrine.
Excellent. Okay. Glad to have you here.
You have another Canadian just joined us.
Oh, man.
Then bottom there, St. Mary. It's a guy called Steve.
All right.
Ah, that's better.
And feel free to post if you want to post anything in the chat. I will post the chat on the group page when we're done. And of course, we will post this to YouTube. I just have to go in and convert it over. But I try to make all of our Zoom meetings available on YouTube. It's just a matter of me sitting down, taking the time. Generally, I don't edit them much. So you're going to get a lot of this banter back and forth, but people seem to enjoy it. So it is what it is. But feel free if you want to post your lodge info or, links to any upcoming events, you're more than welcome to put them in the chat or bring them up during the meeting. Let's see. I was going to say hi to somebody. We do have quite a few. We're up to 22, so we're doing pretty good. Steve Spence, would you like to say hello? He's the one I think Brian just mentioned.
Yeah, I just
there
had
you
to unmute myself. Hello, Brother Roberts. Thank you very much for hosting this today, and it'll be wonderful, I'm sure.
Good to have you here.
Nice to see you, sir.
Brother Leonard, would you like to say hello? Did we say hello already? I don't know. No, I don't think we got him. Brother Leonard, would you like to unmute? Say hello?
Greetings. Calling in from North Jacksonville 387 under the most worshipful Union Grand Lodge of Florida, Prince Hall affiliated. Glad to listen in on this conversation. So looking forward to it. Glad to be here.
Very good. Well, we do have a wide variety. That's great. I love it. That is, if anyone here is not a member of our Facebook group, I certainly ask you to join. I know we seem to be getting around in so many different ways, and there are so many brothers who are willing to promote our events, like Brother Smith, and I greatly appreciate it. So I don't always know where all of you are coming from. I'm going to put in the chat the link to our Facebook page, but this is being hosted by Virginia Research Lodge in Highland Springs, Virginia, under the Grand Lodge of Virginia, but it's open to any Mason. We're not too particular. I don't see any reason to be exclusive at this moment. So for the moment, anybody can get in. So we're not going to be too picky. So now's the time. So once we start getting exclusive, I'm sure half of us won't qualify. So we'll keep it open for now. But as I said, we picked up a lot of Canadians, I think, from Cameron's talk about the Masonic Temple there in Windsor, and that's great. I'm glad to have you all come back. So if you came here by some other means and you're not sure who we are, please join our Facebook group. We are not restrictive at all on the Facebook group. I welcome you. And we share a lot of Masonic information. It's my intent to use Facebook and social media to make research Masonry more widespread and get more Masons involved in research. And if I get some people excited about research and reading more papers and attending more things, and I will have done my job. So please join us on the group, and we post all these events You are welcome, and Brian Smith has totally taken advantage of me. You are welcome to post Zoom meetings on our group page. There's plenty out there, and I'm truly grateful for him making the effort. Literally every day of the week, you can find a Zoom meeting to attend. And I should have tried this sooner, because during the initial part of the lockdown, I was looking for Zoom meetings, something to do. But now there's a plethora out there. So believe me, you can find a Zoom meeting every day of the week. And if your lodge or your organization is having one, or you know of one that's interesting, please post it on our Facebook page, because we want to make it accessible to everybody as much as possible. So that's our whole goal here. Brother Cameron, would you like to unmute and say hello? Brother Cameron, if you want to unmute, say hello. Cameron, I like your wallpaper, your photo. That's pretty cool. Brother Craig, how about Brother Craig? You want to unmute, say hello, let us know where you're from. There you are. Unmute Brother Cameron and say hello.
Greetings. I'm in the middle of driving. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I just wanted to say hello to everybody. My name is Cameron Goins, Hamilton Tavern East, Lodge number 55, Most Worship Prince Grand Lodge, Pennsylvania. I'm currently the junior steward, so very fresh in my journey. I've actually initiated the class of 2019.
All right. What state you say you're from again?
Pennsylvania, sir.
Pennsylvania. Good to have you here. Okay, I'll let you drive, please. Turn off your camera. I don't want to distract you.
Yes, sir.
We already had one brother roll his car, so we don't need another one. All right. Brother Terrell, I can see you. You want to say hello? Unmute, please.
Peace and greetings to the East. How's everybody doing?
Very good. Where do you hail from?
I hail from Arkansas.
Arkansas. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we're up to 25. I think we spent enough time saying hello to everybody. It's 10:15. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speaker, because I've been looking forward to this. We have worshipful brother Rob Lund from Ontario, Canada. I will let him do all of his introductions himself. And I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody else. So please don't unmute while the speaker is speaking. But I've really been looking forward to this talk. And this is the kind of stuff I've been trying to get in these Zoom meetings, is something of real substance. So this should be a lot of fun. So with no further ado, Brother Lund.
Thank you, Brother Christopher. So I'm not going to say too much about myself, except that I'm a past master of Kilwinning Lodge in Toronto, Canada. Chairman of the District Education Committee. I do a lot of articles, newsletters, lectures, and a couple of books. So, and I will unashamedly plug my books at the end of the talk so everybody can see them. So you can get them if you're interested. Okay, so I'll just get straight into it. So what I'm going to talk about today is the need for esoteric education in Freemasonry. So let's consider for a moment the question, what is Freemasonry? Okay, there are various definitions. One could be brotherhood of men seeking to improve themselves and be of more service to mankind. Another would be a fraternity as members seek to improve their morals and support each other. Another could be an organization of people who believe in brotherhood and helping others. Then there's the definition in the ritual, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So from these various definitions, we can see that Freemasonry is different things to different Masons. But let's hear what some well-known Masonic authors have said regarding Freemasonry. Manly P. Hall, for example, said, Freemasonry is a creedless philosophy. Masonry is not a material thing. It is a science of the soul. It is not a creed or a doctrine, but a universal expression of the divine wisdom. So he also made the following observations. In its highest sense, it is neither historical nor archaeological, but is a divine symbolic language, perpetuating under certain concrete symbols the sacred mysteries of the ancients. Now, if you haven't done so, you should read Manly P. Hall's book, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, or at least read chapter 1, which contains some good descriptions or further descriptions of Freemasonry in these terms. Another Masonic author, Albert Mackey, had this to say. He said, I contend that the philosophy of Freemasonry is engaged in the contemplation of the divine and human character, of God as one eternal self-existent being, of man as an immortal being, preparing in the present life for an eternal future. These two doctrines, then, of the unity of God and the immortality of the soul, constitute the philosophy of Freemasonry. Albert Pike wrote, the highest claim of Freemasonry to consideration is that it is philosophical truth, concealed from the masses and taught to the adepts by symbols. He also wrote, Freemasonry is the subjugation of the human that is in man by the divine, the conquest of the appetites and passions by the moral sense and reason, a continual effort, struggle, and warfare of the spiritual against the sensual. Another famous Masonic author, J.S.M. Ward, wrote this. Freemasonry is something much wider than a school of purely moral instruction, as becomes manifest when we study the second and third degrees, which to a large extent consist of mystical teaching of a more complex and spiritual nature than that usually designated by the term moral instruction. J.D. Buck wrote this. Masonry deals largely with the ethics and symbolism of the ancient mysteries. This ancient wisdom is the fountain from which Masonry takes its rise. Now, one of my favorite Masonic authors, W.L. Wilmshurst, wrote this. Masonry is a veiled and cryptic expression of the difficult science of spirit life, and the understanding of it calls for special informed guidance on the one hand, and on the other, a genuine and earnest desire for knowledge, and no small capacity for spiritual perception on part of those seeking to be instructed. So these men, these knowledgeable brothers, they didn't suck those words out of the air. And they spent most of their lives reading, researching, and contemplating what they learned regarding ritual and the symbols of Freemasonry. They looked beyond the words. They studied other sources. How many of us do that? How many of us have lived up to the charge in the first degree? I don't know if you have this in the American ritual, but the charge is to make a daily advancement in Masonic knowledge. How many of us live up to that? Well, these men did, and therefore we should pay attention to their words and respect their opinions. So the definition of Freemasonry given in the ritual, a beautiful system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. So let's break down this statement and try and analyze what it's saying. The system of morality. So are the rituals of Masonry there simply for the purpose of teaching morals? Temperance, prudence, justice, charity, brotherly love. Was Masonry instituted to teach these very elementary virtues? Consider this. In the emulation ritual, in the examination before passing to the second degree, the question is asked, who are fit and proper people to be made Masons? And the answer to be given is just and upright men, etc., and strict morals. So ask yourself if the elaborate rituals of Freemasonry were meant to teach morals to those who are already supposed to be moral. But the word morality in its original and also in its Masonic sense has a further meaning. It has the same sense as it does when we speak of a morality play or a morality. which was a literary or a dramatic way of expressing spiritual truth, putting it forward allegorically. So, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbols. Veiled means hidden or covered, and this is suggestive of hidden information. Allegory means a story that has a deeper meaning in addition to its surface meaning. So think about that. Our allegories have deeper meanings. And the definition explicitly tells us that. Symbols are defined as something used for or regarded as representing something else. So by our breakdown of this, we can determine that this definition of Masonry tells us explicitly that there is veiled information in our ritual and symbols. Now also think about this. In the initiation, in the emulation ritual, the candidate is announced at the door of the lodge as a poor candidate in a state of darkness, humbly soliciting to be admitted to the mysteries and privileges of ancient Freemasonry. So what are these mysteries? And why is it called ancient Freemasonry? So hopefully you'll understand from this that there's more to Freemasonry, its rituals, its symbols, than appears on the surface. Hopefully you'll realize that there is hidden or esoteric information that points to concepts important to us all. So what is this esoteric education that I'm talking about? The predominant wish of a Freemason's heart is light. But what is that light? Now, many religions and mystery schools have their definitions of light, but it can be summed up as the light of truth. But what truth? In Freemasonry, it can be determined to be the truth of knowledge and gnosis regarding the deeper meaning of our rituals. And as stated in some of the previously mentioned authors' definitions, our knowledge of and relationship with the Creator. So, we have these deeper esoteric meanings. Then how does the average Mason discover them? The well-read Mason will discover them for himself, but not everybody has the time these days. There are a number of books that deal with this in detail, including my own, that will help the Mason in search of light. So one will discover that the sources of our initiation ceremony, while based improbably on old operative ceremonies, are a blend of various streams of influence, usually called the ancient wisdom or secret doctrine, which are common to all the ancient mysteries and initiation systems from ancient times. Now, these are combined with elements from various systems such as Hermeticism, Kabbalah, Rosicrucianism, Sufism, Christian mysticism, Buddhism, Theosophy, Anthroposophy, and others, drawing symbols and teachings from them all. Now, after researching these mystery teachings myself, it becomes clear that all these sources have been promoters of the same mysteries, and they proclaim the same truths. Some of the founders of Freemasonry, as we know today, were Rosicrucians, who were and still are teachers of the ancient wisdom. Having studied these teachings myself, I can clearly see the signposts embedded in our ritual, pointing the curious Mason to those mysteries. So, if you indulge me further, rather than give more of my own words, let me read to you some more quotes from some learned and respected Masons of the past, which will hopefully provide some further explanation. Again, from Manly P. Hall, he said, "The average Mason, as well as the modern student of Masonic ideals, little realizes the cosmic obligation he takes upon himself when he begins his search for the sacred truths of nature as they are concealed in the ancient and modern rituals. He must not lightly regard his vows. If he would not bring upon himself years and ages of suffering, he must cease to consider Freemasonry solely as a social order only a few centuries old. He must realize that the ancient mystic teachings are, as perpetuated in modern times and rites, are sacred, and that powers unseen and unrecognized mold the destiny of those who consciously and of their own free will take upon themselves the obligations of fraternity. There's a lot to think about there. Only those who see in it a cosmic study, a life work, a divine inspiration to better thinking, better feeling, better living, with the spiritual attainment of enlightenment as the end, and with the daily life of the true Mason as the means, have gained even the slightest insight into the true mysteries of the ancient rites. Excuse me. He further said, freed of limitations of creed and sect, he stands a master of all faiths, and those who take up the study of Freemasonry without realizing the depth, beauty, and the spiritual power of its philosophy can never gain anything of permanence from their studies. And again, he says, the initiated brother realizes that his so-called symbols and rituals are merely blinds fabricated by the wise to perpetuate ideas incomprehensible to the average individual. He also realizes that few Masons of today know or appreciate the mystic meaning concealed within these rituals. With religious faith, we perpetuate the form, worshipping it instead of the life. But those who have not recognized the truth in the crystallized ritual, and those who have not liberated the spiritual germ from the shallow, empty words, are not Masons, regardless of their physical degrees and outward honors. So Manly Pihor was a pretty deep guy. Albert Pike, he said this, every legitimate symbol of the Blue Lodge is a religious symbol of great antiquity which came to Freemasonry from the Hermetic philosophy. Every one of them is an embodiment of the doctrine in regard to the deity and the revelation of divine truth to man. This is what J.D. Buck said. It's in the ancient symbols of Freemasonry that its real secrets lie concealed. And these are as densely veiled to the Mason as to any other, unless he has studied the science of symbolism in general and Masonic symbols in particular. The most profound secrets of Masonry are not revealed in the lodge at all. They belong only to the few. And this again, if admitted as a fact, will seem an injustice. But these secrets must be sought by the individual himself, and the candidate is debarred from possessing them solely by his own inattention to the hints everywhere given in the ritual of the lodge, or by his indifference to the subject. If he prefers to treat the whole subject with contempt and to deny that any such real knowledge exists, it becomes evident that he not only closes the door against the possibility of himself possessing such knowledge, but he also becomes impervious to any evidence of its existence that might come to him at any time. He has no one but himself to blame if he is left in the darkness. My favorite author, W.L. Wilmshurst, said, the fundamental hypothesis and philosophic secret of Masonry is the solemn fact that God and the human soul are in essence a unity, not a duality. And the sole intention of our initiatory system is, by instruction and discipline, to bring about in each of us the conscious realization of that unity. He further said, the text of our rituals and lectures discloses a strange combination of two very different and easily distinguishable levels of teaching. A lower and commonplace level, which is simple and intelligible to everyone, and a higher and distinctly esoteric level relating to matters of advanced philosophic wisdom. To the higher level, however, belong matters of an entirely different order of instructiveness, matters drawn from and linking us directly with older and advanced systems of philosophic mysticism, beyond the mental horizon of the average brother, who, for want of requisite preparation and instruction, for which also he has too often neither aptitude nor desire, is not only at a loss to understand the main features of our system, but is precluded from vitally benefiting from it. So we can deduce from these quotes that Freemasonry was seen, certainly at the time these authors lived, as an esoteric philosophy. It was seen as a system that was more than a moral institution and seems to have some emphasis on spiritual development. Many Masons, many lodges, and Some Grand Lodges have forgotten, ignored, or denied this. The turning point seems to have started after the Second World War, when Masonry became very popular for ex-servicemen, perhaps as a substitute for the camaraderie they experienced in combat. The result is that Freemasonry became, without this very important aspect, merely a men's club for most members. J.D. Buck says it this way: in lacking a knowledge of the profound meaning of Masonic symbolism and its transcendent interest and importance, Masons have allowed the whole organization not only to fail in all real progress, but to degenerate. Harsh words, but I think they're true. Why did we need this type of esoteric education in the craft? So I believe there are two main reasons that we should concern ourselves with. The first is expressed in the following quotation from Albert Pike. Much of our ancient symbolism has disappeared. Moreover, some is perhaps irretrievably lost. Like all ancient monuments, Masonry suffers from the incessant gnawing of the tooth of time. The destruction of its symbolism by omissions of what is misunderstood, by the innovations of ignorance or that half knowledge, even worse than ignorance, that is always coupled with self-conceit and vulgarizes whatever it endeavors to improve, goes on continually. So what Pike was saying is that, as has happened in the past, those who make arbitrary changes to the ritual without this deeper knowledge and understanding will most likely contribute to destroying the original underlying esoteric meanings behind them without even realizing it. Now, the second reason for this type of education is more important and more urgent, I think, and requires our dedicated attention and action. So we see brethren discontinuing their interest or their membership because they find that Masonry means nothing to them. They've not had the benefit of learning about and understanding the great philosophical and mystical truths that lie hidden in our ritual and symbols, and leave the order through disappointment in not finding what they were looking for. Brethren, this is not a frivolous statement on my part. It's based on fact. In our district, we have a strategic planning committee. They set up a workshop inviting newer Masons, those who have been members for less than 5 years, to attend. And the mandate of this committee was to ascertain the condition of Masonry, both positive and negative, within the district, in the areas of membership gains, membership losses, retention problems, and potential for growth. To develop strategies to address retention problems, and to gain an understanding of why growth rates are uneven between lodges in the district, and to develop strategies to enhance the growth of struggling lodges. The purpose of the workshop was to have an open discussion with the newest Masons in order to gain some insight into why they joined, what their expectations were before they joined, and what expectations were fulfilled. The number of Masons in Canada is going down. So in 2018, in Ontario province, we gained 925 new members, but we lost 3,387. And of those that we lost, 2,247 were resignations and suspensions. It's known anecdotally at least, that many members are getting their degrees and then leaving. It's also known that some lodges are more vibrant and active than others. Now, the committee wanted to know what could be done to keep the members that have been coming in, as well as make them stronger Masons and more interested so they can help build the craft and make it stronger. There were 60 Masons who attended this workshop. One of the items discussed was what they were expecting that they didn't get. Now, almost all of the attendees said that they thought they would have had more teaching, more one-on-one mentoring, and more guidance. The attendees were also looking for more on the symbolism and esoteric teachings. They wanted this given to them or taught to them. They were all expecting this when they joined, and only a handful received it. So I want to emphasize, they were all expecting esoteric teaching, but few got any. So while this workshop represented only one district, I venture to say that this is most likely representative of all new Freemasons, certainly in Ontario, but perhaps worldwide. One can deduce from this that in order to retain members, especially the newer ones, we have to provide regular mentoring and education, especially esoteric education. We have to meet and satisfy their expectations if we want to keep their interest. So what should we plan on doing? Firstly, mentoring. So Grand Lodge, our Grand Lodge at least, provides excellent programs to assist with this. And we can make it simple by assigning a mentor to every newly initiated Mason. If you haven't done that already, I suggest you do. The mentoring activities and progress can be monitored and reported on by a mentoring committee. And to make it easier for the mentor, you could create a standard list of items to cover and use as guideline. Secondly, education, education, education. Masonic education should be scheduled as part of the master's plan for the year. Education shouldn't be left for just the meetings when there's no degree work. They should be incorporated into any available time, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes. So many times I've heard the master say, "Brethren, you have the freedom of the lodge." This is really time wasting when a short educational article could be read instead. And there should be a balance of both the esoteric and non-esoteric education. There's plenty of material available in books and online. And my books alone could provide esoteric lodge education for years. However, we can get more involvement from members if we encourage reading and research. You know, perhaps assign a member to do a presentation on some symbol or section of the ritual, or some article or a book. These presentations could also become discussions. Let's cultivate the mystery aspect. So by providing esoteric knowledge and education and discussion, we would be living up to and giving reality to the mysteries, as in the secrets and mysteries of Freemasonry. Consider implementing a chamber of reflection. So this is a great way to help the candidate to start realizing that there's more to Freemasonry than meets the eye, and that reflection and contemplation are required in order to get the most from the craft. Setting up a chamber of reflection is very easy to do. Let's guard the West Gate. So let's not take men into the craft who are not well suited to it. And we see this often in some lodges. Men who walk in the door are given application forms. We certainly don't want men who may damage the reputation of the craft. We also don't want men who have no deep interest in what Freemasonry offers, who haven't done their research. We need to get to know our potential candidates first. This takes, in our lodge, this takes 10 or more meetings before every member has had time with the new prospect to get to know them and their interests and concerns, and for them to get to know the members. And we've been very successful with this in our lodge. We need to adopt at least all the things I've mentioned as a regular part of our meetings and operation. It should be part of the planning and management of the lodge. If we do, we just may stand a chance of retaining those candidates who are looking for something meaningful in their lives but weren't getting it in Freemasonry. We may just stand a chance of stopping the bleeding and making the craft a growing, blossoming institution. Brethren, dare I close by saying, go forth and multiply. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Worship Brother Lund. I really appreciate that. And you said a lot of things I've heard before, by all means, and I completely agree. You wanted to plug your books, so please go ahead and plug your books.
Okay.
If you haven't formally, and then we'll open up to questions.
I'll do that. So my idea is not to make money from these books. My desire is to spread light, and that's my mission in life. So the first book is called The Hidden Code in Freemasonry. You know, and the hidden code thing was a catchy phrase back when I first published it. So it really put down all the things esoteric that I learned in my years in Freemasonry, all those things I discovered beyond the veil. And the idea was to get it out there, not in a lot of detail, but enough for Masons to think about it and maybe go and do their own research. I then wrote a book called Mystic Masonry, which really just dealt on the symbols in the ritual. I don't have a copy to show. And then I decided to set up a series of esoteric handbooks, one for each of the degrees. So there's one for the apprentice, one for the fellowcraft, and one for the master mason. So these really take a look at each degree from an esoteric viewpoint, and draw attention to some of the mystical teachings that are there, that are hidden in plain view, really to encourage each brethren to go and find out a bit more for himself. Now, I must tell you, a lot of these things I would never have discovered if I hadn't looked beyond the craft. So I became a Rosicrucian and a Theosophist, and those are modern mystery schools, if you'd like to call them that. And as I went through the teachings, so I was seeing more and more things back in our Masonic ritual which resonated with those mystical teachings. So all I'm saying is I'm trying to encourage Masons to go out there and seek for themselves. And I can tell you these things, but they're useless to you unless you accept them, unless you delve into them and actually live them for yourself. So, any questions, brother?
Yes, well, I'd just like to compliment you, Wishel Brother Lund. It's Wishel Brother Steve Spence. I've seen you speak 2 times in Toronto East up at Markham Union, and I really enjoyed your talks on, which I suppose are your books in smaller form, short form, about the first and second degree. So it's great to see you here today sharing with us, brother.
Great to have you.
I have a question for you, Rob. You mentioned Rosicrucians, but just wanted a general perception on your part between the Masonic version versus the other esoteric bodies. In my studies and reading, I find there's a fair amount of difference.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a member of the SRIA, Societas Rosicruciana in Anglia, which was the Masonic Rosicrucian body. Well, I wouldn't say it's Masonic, but you have to be a Master Mason to be able to join them. And their degrees are very esoteric, certainly. The trouble I found with the SRIA was, like craft masonry, they didn't really delve into what those things meant. So each person was left to go and research for themselves and discover their meanings. Now, I'm a member of Amorc, the ancient mystical order of the Rose Cross, and their teachings are explicit. So you start learning about the mysteries of the universe from scratch. So they give you that knowledge. They don't hint at it like Masonic ritual does. And that's essentially the difference between the two.
Oh, thank you. I have the same perception.
I would ask Brother Lund, and it's sometimes the dumb questions are the better ones, but briefly, when we hear the word esoteric a lot in Masonry, we say, oh, we need to be more esoteric. Give us a quick definition of what you mean when you say esoteric, because not everybody knows.
Yeah, esoteric, and sometimes the word occult is used, but we don't like to use that word because it has some connotations which some people misunderstand, and they're linked to devil worship and stuff like that. Essentially, esoteric and occult mean the same thing, and it's quite simply just hidden knowledge. So knowledge that the average person doesn't come across, knowledge that you only find if you seek for it.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions? No one has a question? Please speak up. Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Brother Robert, fantastic presentation. I've read your books for years now. I think that your handbooks for each degree, I think they should be in the hands of every single candidate that goes through. I think they're phenomenal, and they break down what we mean by esotericism in a very easy to digest way. So kudos, fantastic presentation. Was glad to be a part of it tonight. So not a question, just wanted to throw out my kudos and my brotherly love.
I'm very glad to hear that, Joe.
Quick question. Any advice on how to approach older brothers and maybe try to get them interested into esotericism? Or is it something we should just let them retain what they want and focus on the newer members? Because I would love to get my entire lodge involved with esoteric study, but I know that may be an uphill battle. So any advice on how to approach the other brothers would be appreciated.
Well, you know, it's hinted at in some of the quotations I gave today, is that some people will never be interested in or understand the esoteric. So they don't want to look behind the veil. And there's nothing you can do about that. So you just have to let them do their own thing and be their own person. Those people who are open to it, you know, are in my mind, true Masons. You know, when is a person first made a Mason is a question asked to the candidate, and the reply is in my heart. And I think that's sort of describes the kind of person that's open to esoteric teachings. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I actually had a follow-on comment, Brother Robert, because I've lived this myself in my lodge, and what I've learned is, and I'll probably get some stink eye from some folks on this call, is that it's really not an age thing, because you know, like my home lodge, for example, we have 180 members, and it's the same 20 members that get together after lodge and talk about philosophy and talk about the mysteries and things like that. And it really doesn't have anything to do with age. It has to do with more of what their purpose was when they came into the craft, you know. And I think you were alluding to this, that there are, and again, I'll probably get some stink eye by saying this, but there are members and there are Masons, and they're really two different classes of people, you know. You have the folks that come in for a dues card and come in for a meal and maybe reading the minutes, and you have those that will stay after a lodge meeting if you're not giving them education, and will stay there till 1 o'clock in the morning and discuss things. So I think, I don't think, to the original brother's question, I don't think you can please everybody, but as long as you have a vehicle for those that want to actually study what's behind the veil, as you put it, I think they'll come, because I really don't think we have folks that are 85 years old and folks that are 25 years old, and they sit in a room together and you know, break bread and have harmony.
I think you're right, Joe. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, certainly. You know, there are some that'll just never be interested, and that's okay. I mean, Masonry is different things to different people, and their needs are different, and the way their needs are satisfied are different. So, but the main thing is to provide a framework or a basis on which those who are interested can learn. And it should be done in lodge and not sort of after hours or whatever. It should be part of the Masonic experience.
But that's where we run into a difficulty. I mean, in reality, I agree with what Joe said. I think I mentioned this last week too, is you have the men who join Masonry and their only experience in masonry is their lodge. Everything they know about masonry, they can be a mason 30 years, is, well, I joined Norfolk number 1, just pick on a lodge. And I've only ever attended Norfolk number 1, and I'm not going to walk down the hall and attend another lodge, even in the same district, even in the same building. And your whole concept of masonry is Norfolk number 1, because that's the only lodge you ever attended. And then some of us make an effort to go at least attend other lodges in our district and other lodges within other cities. And then some of us actually make the effort to join appendant bodies. We join research lodges. And, you know, we're constantly looking for more. And the more you look, the more you find that you can go out and learn. I'm never going to convince everybody in my lodge to come with me and go attend a research lodge. I'm just not. And I'm not going to try. I'm going to keep offering it and let them know it's available. And those that are inspired to go will go. I don't want to take anything away from the guy who's perfectly happy going to lodge, seeing his friends he's known for years and eating a meal and going home as soon as the meeting's over. I don't begrudge him. I'd like to change him, but I don't think I will, Joe. It's just that we need to be pushing to offer more, and we need to light the spark in those who are there, like the people in this room right now, who want more out of it. We need to appeal to them. And it's nice that we meet after the meeting and we talk. In Ocean View, we do that a lot too. But you have to get the officers on board and convince the master that it's his obligation. I mean, it's right there in his obligation when he's installed. The master is responsible for providing education at every single meeting. And he's not I mean, a lot of Masons, a lot of masters aren't made to do that. So unless the master is actively trying to get more education in his meetings, we're not fulfilling our purposes. So I'm not saying we need to, you know, beat everybody with a stick and say, go learn to be a better Mason, but we do need to make sure that the officers are pushing Masonic education at every single meeting, so that those who are there to receive it will see it's there and not be dissuaded. And I think that's why people get disappointed. If there's not a formal effort at every single meeting to provide some education, just like Brother Rob said, half the members who join will fall away because they don't see it. And maybe they aren't aware. Well, if you stick around after the meeting, you'll get in on some cool stuff. It needs to be integral to every meeting, or you're not reaching people.
Yeah, entirely agree.
That's the answer.
I have a question if you guys are ready for another.
Please.
Well, firstly, I wanted to let everybody know that actually I've been a member of like a online Rosicrucian body since before I was a Freemason. You guys mentioned AmWork. There is information AmWork makes available if you join like an online portal at rosicruciancommunity.org. Also, I wanted to ask.
Please put that in the chat because we'll post in the chat.
Okay, great.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to ask the host though, because I've tried to look into getting involved with AmWork, and you guys mentioned AmWork, and well, it's not nearly as widespread as Freemasonry, right? So there seems to be, in my understanding, one lodge that's in Toronto. Is that correct? Or
yeah, that's correct.
okay. Is it difficult to get coordinated with that? Is it like you have to know a member, or?
No, it's very simple. You go to amorc.org. You download something called, well, it's a flyer called Self-Mastery, I think. It'll tell you all about the course material, and you simply join up online. I think it costs $150 a year.
No, but I mean, to actually receive the temple degrees in the lodge there seems to be only available in Toronto, and like,
oh yeah,
I don't know how exactly to petition with that.
Just for those who are not aware, some of the Rosicrucian degrees you can do by yourself, but it's preferable that you go to a lodge and have the degrees there. And yeah, in Toronto, there is only one that do the degrees. I know there's another lodge that meets in Hamilton, but I don't think they do degrees.
Interesting. Okay, that answers my question. I just thought maybe I wasn't like, or maybe it wasn't available online as much. Like I could only find information on the Toronto Lodge. I lived in Toronto, well, my whole life up until very recently. All right, thank you for answering.
I have a question
Please.
or a statement.
Hang on. I'm sorry, Brother Mark Phillips. He had his hand up. Could you please, Brother Mark? He actually had his hand raised. We don't always do that here, but or did we lose him? I'm sorry. Okay, if he comes back, go ahead. Whoever was speaking, I didn't catch you.
It's Brother Gore.
Ah, Brother Gore. Yes. Go ahead.
It was something to what they said earlier about getting members in the lodge more interested in esoterics. I know when I first joined, I was also a member of a morgue. I'm also a member of a morgue as well. But when I first joined, there wasn't too many people telling me, or I was craving more light, and there was a lot of people not telling me anything. So it forced me to go search myself. It forced me to go get my own books, do my own inner work. And a lot of times that's what it is, even with the morgue. A lot of it, the teachings is more, here's this information and then contemplate it. You know what I mean? So even if you don't have a large lodge full of people who are sharing esoteric information, in the end, it's all about yourself. You know what I mean? You got to do the work, you got to do the searching, and the information is out there. So even if you do feel alone, sometimes in lodge like that, you aren't. That's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate it. I want to say this, and Brother Mark, I see you again. You disappeared and then you came back, but I'll let you speak next. What little I can offer towards all this is I'm very much interested in this, and what Brother Lund has said, what Brother Joe has said. I've been saying the same things for years, that we're not offering enough, and we may or may not be successful in our lodges to change the minds of the masters to spread more education. But I would ask every one of you, when your lodge goes back to meeting regularly, encourage the masters and the officers that they need to put more education in the regular meetings. Push to have it made a regular part of the meetings. But in the meantime, forums like this, our group, the Zoom meeting, I want to delve deeper into this. I want to make this available. I want to make this if this becomes something that's much deeper, I'm all in favor of going down that path. So if you're sitting there saying, my lodge doesn't do this, I can't persuade anybody to do more education, I can't get anybody involved, I'm not reaching anyone, but I want more, well, we're here, and we're going to start here. I'm going to make an effort to offer more of this here through this forum, since it's something I have control over and something I can direct. So by all means, we're going to have more speakers like Brother Lund. We'll probably have him back again. But anyway, if we can move towards that path and you can find some answers here, then I'm doing my job. So I'm open to any suggestions, any speakers, anyone who wants to present, let me know, and we'll delve into it here in these sort of meetings, and that at least we'll have a beginning here moving in the right direction. So that's what I can offer. Brother Phillips, you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was just a problem scrolling.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead and ask a question. You have the floor. Okay, I will put you on the spot then. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Brother Host, thank you very much, Douglas, for that. And I think it's a great thing, and I appreciate it. And I know I'll try to keep in touch and make sure I come to some more of the lectures. Just a question for Brother Robert Lund, worshipful brother, sorry, sir. Is there an easier way to get your books? Like, can you share an address that we can get them from you directly, or are they all at the bookstores, like Amazon, etc.?
Well, here's the thing. The books are print on demand, so it's easier to buy them directly, say from Amazon or Ape Books or any of the stores on Ape Books. But directly from Amazon is easier. and cheaper.
Thank you, brother. Oh, yes. No, I understand. Just wanted to ask where, you were coming from with the charity, or, trying to keep producing your works, that if there was any easy way. But Amazon is great. Thank you, brother.
By all means, Brother Lund, if you want to post a link in the chat here, you're welcome to. I think I put it out there on the Facebook group. And I'll ask again, because we've had more people join. If you are not a member of Virginia Research Lodge's Facebook group, I would ask you to please join. I'm assuming everybody here is more than likely on Facebook, but you may not be a member of our group, so please join. We try to offer a lot of useful Masonic information there. I'll give a plug. We do our weekly email of research papers from the archives of Virginia Research Lodge and the 4 other research lodges in Virginia, and then other sources I'm still working on. So that's a weekly thing. You can join our group and ask to be added to the email list. You can message me directly and I'll put you on our email list, but I also post them in the group every single week. So there's a lot of information there, and I encourage everyone to join if you're not already. I'd love to have you out there in our Facebook group. Brother Lund, any other questions before I go on? I got my own questions, but I want to make sure everybody else gets a chance to ask a question. Go ahead, Brother Spence. Or not? Okay. So, Brother Lund, I know we say, you said it, and I've heard it other places, that, you only really begin to learn about the deeper mysteries of Freemasonry if you go and learn them on your own. But if that's true and we're not doing it, how can they learn if they don't know where to start? And I know your books, I mean, you kind of gave the answer with your books and all that. It's kind of like, I think in a way, it's slightly unfair to tell a new member, oh, if you really want to learn about Masonry, you need to go study on your own. And there's some truth to that. But in reality, if they don't even know it, I read a lot of your quotes, and you said, a lot of people say, well, there are things whispered at in the ritual. And I totally agree. But if you don't have a clue as to where to go to start looking for them, a newer guy's going to be lost. So we do need to offer some help in pointing brothers in the right direction. Would you not agree? And you're doing so in your books, but that's kind of the catch-22 that I get from these discussions. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And with me, it was the same thing. Until somebody pointed out that there's more to it than meets the eye, I wouldn't have known either. I think I discovered by reading one of W.L. Wilmshurst's books, it opened my eyes right there in my mind that I need to go and look further. If I hadn't come across that, I probably would never have, and I probably would have left Masonry. But yeah, it's kind of difficult for the new Mason. And I've made it my mission to, as I say, spread light. I know it sounds corny, but that's my deal. That's what I try and do. But again, it's up to the individual. So you can only show what's there. You cannot actually teach the person what it is. They have to learn themselves. They have to discover themselves. They have to experience for themselves. But you have to sometimes just show them that it's there. So it's like the analogy of just lifting the veil slightly, so they can see there's something else there.
Okay, I understand that.
I have a question, if I
Please.
can jump in. So we've talked a lot about how or the benefits of bringing that education to members, but I guess what also is the benefit of having people in lodges that have delved into this subject and sort of gone on that personal trip into esoteric knowledge and sort of come back to the lodge. So I guess like having leaders that are informed by that. I don't know if you can speak to like what the actual benefit is of having researched that information or having sort of meditated on that those subjects.
How does it benefit the lodge, you're asking?
Right, and society at large, really. Also,
good question.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that because, again, it comes down to how open people in the lodge are, whether it's the master or, the new Mason. If somebody has knowledge, they should share it, and if there's some resonance, something will happen. If there isn't, nothing will happen, unfortunately.
I think, it is true that if the whole purpose of the whole intent of Masonry is to inspire every individual one of us to go and be better and to delve deeper into this, the benefit is more for you individually. I would say the more you learn on your own, the more open you are to sharing it within the lodge and maybe lighten a spark in someone else to go and learn more. So maybe that's the benefit. I mentioned masters, and I'm trying not to be too harsh, but it's the reality. Too many worshipful masters have no idea that they're supposed to be spreading Masonic education. It's just one of the many words that get thrown at them when they're when they are installed, and they take away from it. Well, I got to make sure I open and close 12 meetings. Okay, I mean that's kind of how a lot of them take it. I've got to make sure I do the same stuff we did last year. If a master doesn't know in his heart that he's supposed to be spreading Masonic education, he's not going to do it on his own. And just me as the installing officer telling him he needs to do it isn't enough. So if he's a more enlightened Mason, he's going to take it on himself, like I did, like Joe did, like Brother Lund did. He's going to make sure when he's in charge of the lodge that he's spreading Masonic education. So I guess that's what we get out of it, is we get officers who are more willing to push others to look beyond the veil, to look for deeper meanings. And I suppose that's the benefit of it. It may reach critical mass within a given lodge if enough of them are enlightened. I don't know. I don't know whether that's happened. Has that occurred? Have we had enough enlightened Masons in any given lodge to bring about something more meaningful within that lodge that other lodges don't achieve? I don't know. It's a good question.
So just as a matter of interest, everything that I've written about, I can probably condense the purpose of all that. I condense it into one sentence. But that doesn't help anybody because actually, I'll give you the sentence. I'll tell you what it is. It's to help to discover that the Creator is within. That's all I'm saying for the moment. That's everything that the mystery schools teach. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
And there's a reason as well for knowing that. But it doesn't help me telling anybody that, because they have to discover it for themselves. They have to have the gnosis, the knowledge, the experience of finding that themselves. Otherwise, it's absolutely useless. So what's in Freemasonry? The esoteric education is not about Freemasonry. It's about ourselves and learning to find what we are meant to. Does it make sense? Probably.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess my question was a little more like, if we're talking about that journey to discover what you just described, which is the Creator within, or finding the hidden stone, or whatever analogy you want to make, what's the benefit of the person who brings that back to the world, who comes back into the world from this inner depth, and how does that person benefit their community and their lodge? And so that's more what I think about and meditate on as being master of my lodge, is what's really the purpose of delving into this stuff, because I think it can take people into weird directions, but it's our job as the people trying to spread the education to put it into some kind of context. So I don't know. It's less of a question and more like just kind of putting it out there. So thank you for indulging me.
Do you have your own answer, Julian?
I sort of do. It's for me. It's more about sort of creating a sense of balance in a person and a sense of self-understanding to where they understand their own place and ability to respond to crises or other situations. I don't know. I'm not describing it very well. I apologize. But I think it's finding that creator within is not necessarily just about improving yourself and sort of erasing the world around you. Like it, just total myopic individualism is not the end goal of the mysteries. It would be coming back into your society, your world, your community, and just being a better person and being a better being a more just ruler of your lodge as master, or just when we think about the hero's journey, I think a lot of people stop at the individual quest and then they don't realize that the real point of the hero's journey is the return back into the world, and the new person that you've become from going down into the depths. So I don't know. I just like to stress that a lot when I talk to people about esotericism and occultism, is that it's don't get lost in that journey. So I don't know. I always think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very well said in the third degree. And in our ritual, there's a line which goes that you return to the companions of your former toils after being raised, which really sums up what you were saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That's not in our ritual, so that's cool.
But what we say, Julian, I mean, to go back to the more I don't want to say mundane, but I guess, but the more basic surface level of masonry is, what is the purpose of masonry? To make good men better. So if we make you a better man, you are a better husband, a better father, a better person in your community, a better person in the people you interact with in your job. And then selfishly, you are a better mason, a better officer, a better leader, a better what have you within your lodge as well. The benefit to society is we are making better men, period. I think anyone could see, if we're making better men, then we're improving society as a whole, because we're taking good men, making them better, and they're going out and influencing the world around them by being better men. So that kind of is the benefit right there, is it not?
I generally agree with that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's really the point, right? Yeah.
Question is, are we making better men?
Right. The question is whether we're really succeeding at that.
Well, I mean, really,
and I think there's an esoteric element to that, and then there's just a total exoteric element to that, which I think is linked with the esoteric element. And like Robert said, there are some people for whom the esoteric stuff is what they're into, and for some people it's not, and that's also okay, because they're still wrapped up in this whole thing. But anyway, I'll stop going, popping off too much.
Well, I've often said, there are people who complain that, okay, we have 200 members in my lodge and 20 members show up at every single meeting. Pre-COVID, all right? I used to show up at every meeting too. I've been to one more than 2 or 3 times past year, but that's the exception right now. But you have 180 men who aren't coming to lodge, and not all of them live in your area. Not all of them are, some of them are older. They're not able to attend, not able to get out as much, but they're paying their dues. They're contributing in some small way to the success of your lodge. And this is a topic I think it's worthy of exploring, would I be better off in a lodge of 20 men where all 20 men show up at every single meeting? Or am I better off like we are now where we have 200 members of the lodge? They all pay dues. It's not that much, but that allows the 20 who show up to have decent meals and to enjoy Masonry as it is, because those other men there are making it possible. Or would it be better off if we charged $400 a year dues and we only had 20 of us, but we could do whatever we want and we're all there, we're more involved? So there's some benefit to those who don't attend. There's some benefit to those of us who are research lodge members, those of us who are more enlightened Masons. I'm trying not to be elitist in any way, but those of us who are seeking enlightenment, who are trying to get more out of Masonry than the surface level. Well, if only 1 in 10 Masons becomes enlightened and the other 10 are there, well, the other 10 are still showing up. They're still showing up at the meetings. They're still volunteering to do things. They're still filling the officers' chairs. They're still conferring the degrees. They're still serving the meals. They're still cleaning up after the meals. They're still giving us a quorum so we can actually hold a meeting. So there is always value in any man wherever he falls in the organization. And we should never look down on them. It's just that we want to encourage and draw out of those more mundane Masons more enlightenment if we can. But without, they are still of value to Masonry as a whole. We can't discount them. I don't know. But now I'm rambling. Any other brother have questions?
I wanted to ask, because somebody else has been asking, how do they get others involved? And I feel like asking you guys, do you think maybe the right way to go about that is through just personal development? Because everything in Freemasonry is at your own free will. So as you search for more knowledge, you'll become more knowledgeable. And then through mentoring, which Freemasonry always promotes, is other people will naturally look to you and see that you know the mysteries. They will be the ones that turn to you. Those are the ones that you can help to enlighten, rather than have an agenda to say, how can I get my knowledge to somebody else? Just be knowledgeable. Others will notice. And they would that be a more appropriate way of seeing the science? You know what I mean?
It's a good point. Yeah, you certainly can't force other people to learn. Another way to look at it is those of us who are more involved in Masonry, those of us who are becoming more enlightened, what have you, we're more inclined to work harder to promote Masonry. If you're happy just going to lodge and you're not happy, you're not willing to do anything else, and you're not willing to look any deeper, you're not making an effort to bring somebody else into Masonry. You're not going to work as hard necessarily in making the lodge grow and keeping the lodge thriving. But those who are enlightened are going to be trying harder because they know it's more important, I guess. They see there's something more meaningful there. And you're going to contribute your time and talents to make things better. Brother Brian spends a lot of time growing his chat room and promoting Zoom meetings. I put a lot of time in my research lodge publishing these papers and maintaining the Facebook group and starting these Zoom meetings. So in my own small way, I'm hopefully contributing to making Masonry grow and encouraging more Masons to seek more. So I'm contributing my time because it seems right to me that I should do so. And I'm driven to contribute and give what I have. So if more Masons are finding more meaning on their own, they're going to find a way to put that to work. They're not going to be happy just not doing anything. Once you've been on this journey, once you've learned more, you're going to turn around and invest more of your time in it because you're more inspired to push what you're seeing and what you've learned and make it available to others. So maybe that's how we're benefiting Masonry by exploring these topics. We're becoming better Masons and we're volunteering our time to try new things like having Zoom meetings and inviting other people to come in and learn from it. Perhaps.
Brother Douglas, I I agree with what you're saying, what everyone's been promoting or trying to explain here in our own words, but it's, it's a whole combination of things, and I find it somewhat, no offense to anyone here, I find it somewhat unbelievable, just as you said, Christopher, if there was a lodge in the same meeting in the same building, but a different night, that it may be a few brothers that never crossed, the outer guard to come into that other lodge, but I feel sad for them because they're losing a lot. Brother George Ashraman and we travel quite a bit together, and I just find that visiting is so awesome. You learn and grow every time you go, I find, and it's very positive and uplifting if you have, according to the link to your cable tow, but even if you did it once a month or something. But I think when you become more enlightened or more interested, and you end up, you can't help it but to share, and not, just gently share. And I think it makes you a more caring person. For instance, we all say, oh, the future of our lodges is the new people. Well, who, I'm sure there's many here. I'm not talking to you folks who are talking to the choir here, but who makes a point of going and talking directly to the new fellas? Talk to the candidate before, just be a friend, just reassure them, that kind of thing. No jokes about any furry animals. I find those rather distasteful and stupid myself, but that's just me. And counterproductive, but be a genuine man to man, a man's man there, and just approach them. And all the new fellas, they should never be sitting alone in lodge. And I was very particular, as you can imagine, Brother Douglas, and all of you, Worshipful Brother Douglas, just try very hard when you're the master, as I was a few years ago, to, really impart that friendship and that fraternity in the lodge, and make sure that no newer, like entered apprentice, fellow craft, even a new master mason is sitting alone. But I think it just makes you more, all this education you're doing very helpfully, Worshipful Brother Douglas and Worshipful Brother Robert Lund. I think it all comes back to what you said in that one sentence. Perhaps I should write it down and frame it or something. But, we all become more excited or more positive about our fraternity and what you can benefit from it. And I think we just want to, as Robert said, spread the light, like spread the message and be that person, not, the future of our lodges is the new people. Well, then are you doing anything to help the new people? That kind of thing. It's just, it's all interwoven, and it becomes more and more positive. And I think, yes, you become more enlightened yourself. I agree. But I think, as someone mentioned here, you're part of the group, and you come back to the group, and then you are a very positive influence on your lodge or on your group. So anyway, very interesting discussion. Thank you for sharing, everyone.
Thank you, Brother Spence. Well, we're coming up on 11:30. I'm happy to keep this open all day, but I'm sure I've already had a few people dropping off, so I think I need to go and wrap it up. Any other questions? Anyone want to announce anything coming up or anything? I really want to thank Brother Lund for joining us today. It was very interesting. Hopefully we'll come back again another time. Brother Ranesh, you had your hand up?
Yes, I just had a quick question. I know Brother Lund has actually written this with the perspective of what Freemasonry is, what he has gone through. But knowing that it is from Canada and what he has obviously gone through maybe from the North American concept, how relevant do you think some of the attributes in the book or the things which he spoke about is universal in nature, especially with respect to the emulation ritual which is followed in UK, or the different type of ritual which is followed in the continental Europe and all.
Brother Lund?
Okay, so it's hard to answer that question because I don't know all of the rituals, but from what I've seen, and I've looked at a few, the basic message is the same. So there may be differences in details, but there's a lot of commonality, and it's really the basic message that's the same. So it doesn't matter. I think it is universal in that sense.
Oh, thank you.
I'd agree. I just want to point out, Brother Ranesh, I was in on a Zoom meeting, but I had to leave early. It was going on over an hour, and I had to cut out, but I'm going to go back and watch it. There was a brother from India who gave a talk on the relationship of Indian religion to Freemasonry and drawing comparisons. And it was really, really interesting. I think the reality is the fundamentals of Masonry are universal truths. I mean, Albert Pike, when he was writing the Scottish Rite rituals, when he was rewriting them, he drew from so many different sources. And Brother Lund alluded to this early on in his talk, is these same truths are found in every aspect, in every religion around the world. And that's the really interesting part. And I think that's where we would learn more to delve into that and see the commonalities, because it's not, you can't honestly say, and this is where Masonry runs afoul of the religious people, you can't honestly say that Christianity has the only answers, for example, because the same basic truths are taught in Indian religions and in other religions around the world. It's the same basic way of, basically the golden rule is found in virtually every religion. So,
Brother Christopher,
please,
just a quick question.
Yes.
Just a quick question. The presentation which you were talking about, was it by any chance by somebody named as Bharat?
It was Sapper Odd was the lodge that held it.
Yes.
I have to go look it up. It was last
no,
week or earlier this week, I think.
Yes. Okay, just a quick FYI. I am the one who made the presentation, and I was the one who was presenting it.
Outstanding. Well, I'm sorry I had to leave early. I was loving that. That is awesome.
We liked it.
Yeah, the paper obviously was by an eminent brother in India. His name is Bharat Ipur, and he has a weekly lecture which he does with one of the lodge. Mm-hmm. And I kind of help him with preparing the presentation. So that presentation which you saw was made by me, not to boast, but just to inform.
Wait, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you present it, or you helped write? You wrote the presentation.
No, he wrote it. I was the presenter for it.
You were the presenter.
I prepared the presentation.
Excellent. Well, that's funny. Okay. Well, I mean, seriously, I only brought it up because you are from India. I'm sorry, but that's kind of funny.
No.
That's exactly why. And I thought it was fascinating. The bit about the three stationed officers related to
the Trinity in Hinduism.
Vishnu. I'm sorry.
Brahma and Shiva.
Yes. I know the names when I hear them. I'm sorry, I haven't learned them. But
no worries.
But I really enjoy that, and I owe it to y'all to go back and finish watching it. But I had to leave. But it had gone over an hour. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you found your way to my Zoom meeting.
Yes.
But the universality is, I mean, that's, it blows you away when you say, wow, I mean, here it is, what the Indian religion has such incredible similarities to what we have. And it's like, there's basic truths. And this goes back to what Brother Lund said early on. There are basic truths hidden everywhere, and Masonry helps bring them to the surface if we delve deeper. That's great.
I think just to add to that, the cradle of civilization, right, was obviously in the the European area, and from where obviously everything was spreading across. And similar to that, I think the Eastern philosophies, of which was obviously found in the east of Indus River, the Indus civilization, which we used to call, I think because of the merchants and the nomadic tribes or the population which was moving away from them, it kind of just started spreading. So what I kind of always used to feel was that maybe it obviously started somewhere and it just spread across everywhere. And that's why there is always this the golden rule, which we speak about, or the commonality, which is actually there. That makes more sense. Because if you go, as you mentioned about different religions, right? They are different paths, but the goal is always the same.
Indeed.
Yes, brother. And
Thank you.
you can even, what you were saying there about the learned, the faith or the religion, etc., or the cultures we're spreading, it makes me think I'm a modern language fellow, and we call it the Indo-European language branches here, and obviously there's some I understand, I've only seen a little bit of it, but there's some very old words that we use that are actually from the Indian culture, from Sanskrit. So
yes,
it's another way of showing our commonality, our common roots. And it only makes sense that if some of our language has common elements, and obviously other things would. And it seems like it's self-evident, but you'd be surprised how many people are narrow-minded. Sorry about my picture, I forgot. I'm moving around doing a couple of errands here. But I'd just like to say it's been a very enlightening lecture by Robert Lund, or Wishful Brother Robert, and an excellent discussion. And I commend our two hosts there, Brother Smith and Brother Douglas, for doing such a good job, but a friendly and a job that makes it easy to share with each other.
Thank you, Brother Spence. Sure. Brother Hughes had his hand up earlier. I'm sorry we got on a roll there. I want to make sure to give him a chance to ask his questions or see what he had to say. Brother Hughes.
Yes, I was just going to comment that our speaker mentioned that his favourite author was W.L. Wilmshurst. Well, I used to be a member of the lodge he established in Leeds, in the north of England, the Lodge of Living Stones. And had he come across that lodge?
Yeah, I'm afraid I didn't hear the question. You faded out there a bit.
He asked if you've been to the lodge that Brother you mentioned an author, no. Windsor. Yeah. I did catch the name. Windsor was his name?
Yep.
Wilmshurst.
Wilmshurst. Okay.
Wilmshurst.
That's it. Yeah, so he was, I'm aware he was a member and maybe a founder of the Lodge of the Living Stones.
That's correct, yes.
And actually, it's funny, there's another author that sort of pointed me in the direction of Wilmshurst, and that was Robert Lomas.
Yes, I remember also.
Yeah.
And also, one fellow who used to travel across each year, sadly, I believe he's now died, was an American author called Kirk McNulty.
Right. Yeah, I certainly have drawn a lot on McNulty's work in some of my books.
Someone mentioned Brother McNulty. That might have been you. I'm looking in the chat. Stephen Spence mentioned McNulty. Oh wait, Brother Hughes, you mentioned Brother McNulty in the chat, but then I think
yes, that's correct.
Stephen mentioned that so he is. Well, is McNulty still alive then or not?
I believe he's died.
Okay. I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I just read.
He was a U.S. Marine colonel.
Right. He actually spoke at least twice in Virginia Research Lodge, and I've published his papers. So okay. I recognize the name. And he has written books, yes. Well, I was doing, when time permits, I try and do a little bit of research on the authors, if I can find anything useful about them. And because I like to have more of a biography on all of our speakers, because I published the papers and there's very little information available to me of who the speaker was, other than they were Grand Master of something at some point. But I came across Brother McNulty's his books, I think, on Amazon. So I was find that interesting that we had an author speak in our lodge. So it's kind of neat. So it's kind of neat to come back around. You know, it's like I'm familiar with the name from here. You're familiar with the name from your experience. Like, oh yeah, that guy. It's kind of cool that there's more. It's I think of, you know, we think of like, well, this is my local research lodge, and you know, I know everybody there who's a member, and they're masters of their lodge where they're from and all that, and it's just us talking to ourselves. But there was a time in my research lodge that we had past Grand Masters of other states came in and gave talks, and prominent Masonic speakers and authors would come in and speak to our lodge. And that's kind of been, we've kind of moved away from that. We kind of lost that where we had sort of this exclusive sort of thing where we had some serious heavy hitters speaking in our lodge, and all I have left is the papers they presented. But we might get back to that one day. Hopefully, it'd be nice to, maybe once all this COVID crap blows over, we can have Brother Lund fly in and give a talk in person or something. Any other brother have anything to say? We are running late. I'm happy to run this all day, but in fairness, I don't want to tie up everybody for 2 hours. But it's really been enjoyable. This is the most discussion I think we've had so far. Any brother ready to say before we wrap it up? Nope. No one? Okay. I'd like to thank Brother Brian Smith for being my co-host. He helped let people in. It's getting to the point where I actually need help running these things, and that's great. Worshipful Brother Lund, I really appreciate you giving a talk, and I think we're moving in a direction that I really want to see us go, is something more, getting more in depth. So if this body is a vehicle to seek more of this esoteric learning among Masons, and I'm glad to be a small contributor to making that happen. So we really appreciate you coming on today, and hopefully people will find your books interesting, and y'all can go forth and take what you learned here and spread it to your lodges. So thank you again, Brother Lund.
It's been my pleasure.
All right. Thank you all for participating. This will be available on our group. When we're going to post it to YouTube, and I'll put a link. If you have anything to put in the chat, hurry up and post it, because I'm getting ready to close the meeting. But the chat will be available on our website, as well as this meeting will be posted to YouTube, hopefully within a week. And look forward to seeing you all next Saturday, and I'll be announcing what the topic is on our Facebook group here probably in the next couple of days. Hopefully I'll get to a point where I have it ahead of time and everything's lined up, and I'll be able to do a teaser here and say, coming up next Saturday, but I'm not there yet. So
wonderful.
We're still putting it together.
Thank you very much. It was a great presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much for attending.
Thank you, Brother Douglas, Brother Smith. Thank you for doing so well. Thank you, Brother Lund.
My pleasure.
A great Saturday morning, and thank you, Wishful Brother George Ashram, for shaking me out of my first coffee there and reminding me about it. I had registered, but it slipped my mind.
You're welcome. You're welcome, brother. And thank you again, Worship Brother Lund. That was very interesting presentation. That was very, very kind. Thank you very much. Also, Worship Brother Christopher, for keep us in the loop. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, brother.